Caitanya. Good. 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 Right. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajaka Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to our weekly reading of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, where on Adi Lila, chapter 4, text 203. Today is December 29th, 2022 in New York, December 30th in Vrindavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Miditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Rijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lundita Sri Vishakhan Vitamstra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Puri Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're reading about the internal reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has been distinguishing between love and lust. Lust, he says, is the desire to satisfy one's own senses, and love is the desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna. The characteristic of love is that it's completely unselfish. One has no personal desire. One only desires to please Krishna. And in the previous verse, Kaviraj Goswami is given the example of Daruka, who felt ecstatic symptoms of love, but who felt them unwelcome because they made him start to feel stunned, and that got in the way of his service of fanning Krishna. So now another verse along the same lines. Govinda Prekshana Kshepi Bashpapura Pivarshinam Uchchayar Anindad Anandam Paravinda Vilochana. The lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. Purport. This verse is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.54. Arshuddha Bhakta Krishna Prema Seva Bhine Swasukharta Shalokyadi Na Kore Grahane. Furthermore, pure devotees never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own personal pleasure through the 5 kinds of liberation. Purport. A pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from merging with the body of the Lord and extending to the other varieties of liberation, such as equality of form, opulence or abode, and the opulence of living near the Lord. Elsewhere we hear that the devotees may accept the 4 kinds of liberation mentioned, but not the 5th kind, merging, Sayuja Mukti, that the devotee never accepts. Any questions or comments? Okay. Madguna Shruti Matrena Mai Sarva Guhashaye Manogatir Avichchinna Yata Gangam Pasom Bhutao. Just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, who reside in the hearts of all. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya yudharitam ahaitukya vya vahita ya bhakti purushottame. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless, and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Salokya sarshti sarupya samipyaikatvam apyuta tiyamanam nagrinanti vinamat sevanam janaha. My devotees do not accept salokya, sarshti, sarupya, samipya, or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberations in preference to serving me. Purport: these three verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, were spoken by Lord Krishna in the form of Kapil. So this is the point, that the devotee is interested in service. He's not interested in ecstasy, he's not interested in liberation. He's simply interested in pure devotional service. And anything that gets in the way of pure devotional service, he finds objectionable. Meena asks, what does it mean that a devotee accepts or does not accept a type of liberation? Well, liberation is offered. It's not that one somehow or other grabs liberation. It has to be awarded by the personality of Godhead. So that's one thing. Or accepts, he doesn't accept any process meant for achieving liberation. The devotee doesn't doesn't look for some process. How will I obtain opulence equal to the Lord? How will I obtain a form equal to that of the Lord? He's not interested in that. It's simply, how can I serve the Lord? And certainly the devotee is not interested in any process that might lead to impersonal liberation. That's strongly rejected. Hope that's okay. Matsevaya pratitam te salokyadi chatushtayam neschanti sevaya purna kutonyat kalaviplutam. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the 4 kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. Why then should they accept any pleasures that are lost in the course of time? Purport: this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, was spoken by the Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaj Ambarish. Merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. Both of them are controlled by time. Neither position is permanent. So although we hear that the impersonal Brahma is eternal, the position of merging into the impersonal Brahman is unconstitutional and therefore temporary. param padam tata padanti atha. Those who ignore the lotus feet of Krishna in favor of impersonal liberation fall down. So their so-called liberation is temporary, as temporary as material gains. And here we find that the devotees are not even interested in liberation. So what then to speak of temporary pleasures, which are lost, kalavipluta, in the course of time, they're just lost. Kamagandha hin svabhavika gopi prem nirmala ujvala shuddha yena dagdha. The natural love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure, like molten gold. Kamagandha, not even a slight whiff of lust, not the slightest scent of lust, is found in the love of the gopis for Krishna. Nirmal, ujval, it's blazing, but just as we hear in the material world, what is that? Dushpure analena cha. Lust is insatiable and it burns like fire. So here, ujval, the love of the gopis, is also blazing, but it's nirmal. It's spotless and shuddha, pure. Yena dagdain, like molten gold. Krishner Sahai Guru Bandhava Prayasi Gopika Vayena Priya Shisha Shoki Dashi. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. Sahaya Guruva Shishya Pujishya Bandhava Striyaha Satyang Vadami Te Partha Gopyakim Me Pavantina. O Partha, I speak to you the truth. The gopis are my helpers, teachers, disciples, servants, friends, and consorts. I do not know what they are not to me. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Gopi Caitanya. Now, this is Kaviraj Goswami's method of presenting the conclusions of devotional service. Whenever he states something, he cites authority to uphold his statements. Gopika Janena Krishner Monera Banchita Prema Seva Paripati Ishta Samihita. The gopis know Krishna's desires, and they know how to render perfect loving service for his enjoyment. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. A devotee is expert, one of the qualities of a devotee. Man mahatmyam matsarpayam matstritam man manogatam jananti gopika partha nanye jananti tatvataha. O Partha, the gopis know my greatness, my loving service, respect for me, and my mentality. Others cannot really know these. Purport. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the Adi Purana. She gopigan madhye Uttama Radhika Rupe Gune Saubhagye Preme Sarvadika. Among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, in good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in love. Purport: among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most exalted. She is the most beautiful, the most qualified, and above all, the greatest lover of Krishna. So we've been hearing about the spotless love of the gopis, the exalted prema of the gopis, and now we hear that among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most exalted. Meena says, what's the difference between selfless love and pure love? No difference. They're the same. Yata Radha Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radha Kunda, is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. This verse is from the Padma Purana. Triloke Prithvi Tanya Yatra Vrindavanam Puri Tatrapi Gopika Partha Yatra Radha Pita Mama. O Partha, in all the three planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate. For on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and there the gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Report: this verse spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna is cited from the Adi Purana. Radha Saha Krida Rasa Vidhir Karon Arshab Gopikan Lashopa Karon. All the other gopis help increase the joy of Krishna's pastimes with Radharani. The gopis act as the instruments of their mutual enjoyment. Purport: it is said that the gopis are divided into 5 groups, namely the Sakhis, Nitya Sakhis, Pran Sakhis, Priya Sakhis, and Parama Preshta Sakhis. All these fair-complexioned associates of Srimati Radharani, the Queen of Vrindavan Dham, are expert artists in evoking erotic sentiments in Krishna. The Parama Preshta Sakhis are 8 in number, and in the ecstatic dealings of Krishna and Radha, they side sometimes with Krishna and at other times with Radharani, just to create a situation in which it appears that they favor one against the other. This makes the exchange of mellows more palatable. So the gopis, other gopis are described as rasa upakaran, accessories or upakaran. Karan means cause, and upakaran, a secondary cause or a contributing cause. So the Radha Krishna are at the center, and their loving relationship is at the center, and the other gopis contribute to that, to the loving dealings of Radha and Krishna. Okay. Meena says selfless sounds impersonal. No, selfless doesn't mean there's no self. Selfless means that the self is dedicated to Krishna. Just as we say, this man has rendered selfless service to his country. It doesn't mean that he's become impersonal. It means he's sacrificed his own interests for the interests of the nation. He's put the nation's interests above his own and sacrificed his own interests for the interests of his country. It doesn't mean at all that he's not a person or that he has that he's tinged by some impersonal concept. The self is there. Selfless, the Buddhists, may think no self, and the Shankarite Mayavadis may also think similarly. But the devotee, when the devotee thinks of selfless, he doesn't think of becoming a non-entity, of extinguishing his sense of personal identity. But he thinks of dedicating all his energy, dedicating life and soul, dedicating everything to Krishna. And not thinking, what can I get out of Krishna? What kind of advantage, what's in it for me? In the material world, it's always, what's in it for me? But in the spiritual world, there's not even the slightest scent of that mentality. We just want Krishna to be happy. The other day, I was hearing the pastime of Krishna having a headache, where Krishna told Narada that the only thing that would cure him would be the dust of the feet of a great soul or a great devotee. So Narada was seeking dust everywhere. No one would give. If the dust of my feet is placed on Krishna's head, I'll go to hell. But when he went to Vrindavan, Krishna has a headache. Then the only thing that will cure him is this dust. And gopis began scraping the dust from their feet. Yes, take. But you'll go to hell. Let us go to hell. Where Krishna's headache should be cured. And that's the mentality, that everything is for Krishna. Harima asks, are all the gopis expansions of Radharani? We hear in the Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavatapi Tabirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalavi. Krishna is surrounded by the gopis who are expansions of Srimati Radharani. So the internal associates of Radha and Krishna in the form of various gopis are expansions of Srimati Radharani. We heard earlier that the gopis are expanded from Radharani, the Lakshmis, the queens of Dwarka. They're all expanded from Srimati Radharani. Now, that said, there are jiva souls, living entities, who are not, who don't belong to the internal potency, but belong to the marginal potency. And they may also be in the mood of gopis. They may also have the form of gopis, but they're in the marginal category. Still, they can't be situated in that way without being blessed by the internal potency, by Srimati Radharani, without being, Prabhupada might use the word saturated with that potency, without being I hate to say empowered. But Without being inspired, enlivened, touched, or what's, yeah, without being fully absorbed in the service of that potency. The marginal living entities in the role of gopis are absorbed in the service of Radharani or the servants of Srimati Radharani. So they also participate in the activities of the internal pleasure potency, but they're not directly expanded in that way. They're marginal living beings. Murai Gupta, in Bhagavad Gita 14:27, Krishna says that the impersonal Brahman is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. What does this mean if Brahman is not our constitutional position? I've cited a couple of times over the last couple of days a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to me when I also asked him about that verse, Shashvatasya dharmasya sukasya ikantikasya cha. Let's see. I was editing the Bhagavad Gita, or I was production managing actually Bhagavad Gita as it is, the complete edition. And I also asked Prabhupada, what does it mean? So let me just see if I can find this, because I've sort of cited it vaguely, but it would be better to get it exactly. And so let's see. Ooh, I'm not finding the letter. Let's see if this gets it. Yes. Letter dated 17th March, 1971. Impersonal Brahman is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, because without coming to the Brahmabhuta platform and remaining engaged in the activities of Brahman, nobody can be joyful. To realize that Aham Brahmasmi is the first step of transcendental life. After one is in full knowledge that he's not this body, but his spiritual soul, he can effectually engage himself in the transcendental service of the Lord. Brahmabhuta, I'm adding, Brahmabhuta prasanatma, nashochati nakanchati, samasarveshu bhuteshu, madbhaktim nabate pranam. Prabhupada continues, it is not that one develops any other identity, but the soul in its liberated existence is Brahma, or pure spirit, always. You know that each of the successive realizations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead includes the earlier realizations in the order of Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. If you want to go into the sun planet, you have first to go into the sunshine. Then you remain in the sunlight. It is not that when you reach the sun planet, you will no longer be in the sunlight. And so I think that answers the question. The Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, the constitutional position of ultimate happiness is to be situated on the Brahman platform. But the Brahman platform is not the ultimate stage of Brahman realization. The impersonal Brahman, or the realization, Aham Brahmasmi, is not the be-all and end-all. The highest stage is realization of Bhagavan. But in Bhagavan realization, still one is situated in the Brahmabhuta position. I think that does answer it, yes. Garima says, like during the time of Lord Rama, some sages aspired for the conjugal relationship with him, and then they were reborn as gopis during Krishna Lila. Yes. Of course, there are different histories sometimes of how these people became, just like there's a history of how Rukmini becomes the wife of Lord Krishna. But she's actually the eternal wife of Lord Krishna, but some pastime is there. There's some history of how Krishna got his conch shell, but the conch shell is eternally with Krishna. So there's a history. And on the other side, this eternal relationship is there. I don't remember which category these Rishigan belong to. My impression is that they belong to the marginal category, but I can't say for sure because I don't have a Shastric quote at hand. Anything else? Okay. Krishna Balabharata Krishna Pranatan Taha Binushu Kahetu Nahe Gopivan. Radha is the beloved consort of Krishna, and she is the wealth of his life. Without her, the gopis cannot give him pleasure. Samsarir api samsara vasana baddha shrinkalam radham adhaya hridaye tatyaja prajasundari. Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, left aside the other gopis during the rasa dance and took Srimati Radharani to his heart. For she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the essence of his desires. Purport. In this verse from the Gita Govinda, Jayadeva Goswami describes Sri Krishna's leaving the Ras Leela to search for Srimati Radharani. So this point is there that the other gopis are helping Srimati Radharani. Yes. So Krishna left all the rest of them aside to search for Srimati Radharani when she left the rasa dance. So without her, the other gopis can't give Krishna pleasure. With her, then the other gopis please Krishna. They enhance Krishna's pleasure. But on their own, not sufficient. They can't give him pleasure without Srimati Radharani. She Radhar Pavla Chaitanya Avatar Yuva Dharmanam Prema Koilo Prachar. Lord Chaitanya appeared with the sentiment of Radha. He preached the Dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy name and pure love of God. She Bhave Nija Bancha Korilo Puran Avatarir E Bancha Mula Korom. In the mood of Srimati Radharani, he also fulfilled his own desires. This is the principal reason for his appearance. So again, Kaviraj Goswami is describing the dual nature of the reasons for the appearance of the Lord. One is to spread love of Krishna through Sankirtan, and the other is to fulfill his own desires in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And that internal reason is the main reason. Otherwise, in every Kali Yuga, there's an avatar who comes to spread the Yuga Dharma. But this Chaitanya avatar is distinct. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Rajendra Kumar Rashamoy Murti Krishna Sakshat Shringar. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna, Rajendra Kumar, the embodiment of rasas. He is amorous love personified. She Rasha Ashwadite Koilo Avatar Anushange Koilo Shab Rasher Prachar. He made his appearance to taste that conjugal love, and incidentally, to broadcast all the rasas. Vishvesham anuranjanena janayan anandamiti indivara shreni shamala komalarpanayan angar anangotavam vachchandam Vajrasundari Bhiravita Pratyangama Shringara Sakti Murti Manibamato Mukto Hari Kridati. My dear friends, just see how Sri Krishna is enjoying the season of spring, with the gopis embracing each of his limbs. He's like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis and the entire creation. With his soft bluish-black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flowers, he has created a festival for Cupid. This is also a verse from the Gita Govinda. Anangotsavam, Ananga Utsavam, a festival for Cupid. Meena says, hadn't really thought about it, that the other gopis cannot give Krishna pleasure without Radharani. When Radha left the rasa dance, they all went to try to find her and Krishna. Yes. Murari Gupta, is there Sankirtan movement in every Kali Yuga, but not necessarily Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That's what I understand. There's a Kali Yuga avatar in every Kali Yuga. He comes to teach the Yuga Dharma in Kalo Tad Parikirtanat. But he's not Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes once in a day of Brahma, just after Krishna. Any other questions so far? Okay. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Rasher Shodhan Ashesha Visheshe Koilo Rasha Ashwadhan. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the abode of rasa. He himself tasted the sweetness of rasa in endless ways. He accepted the mood of Srimati Radharani, and so he's immersed in tasting the sweetness of rasa. Ashesha Visheshe, in unlimited varieties. She dware pravartaila Kali Yuga Dharma Chaitaner Dashe Jane E Shab Marma. Thus he initiated the Dharma for the age of Kali. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya know all these truths. Purport: Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, the absolute enjoyer of the love of the gopis. He himself assumes the role of the gopis to taste the predominated happiness of transcendental mellows. So the predominated happiness of transcendental mellows means the happiness that one feels when one is in the position of the predominated. Krishna is the predominator, and the gopis are predominated. So the Lord himself assumed the role of the gopis to taste the predominated happiness of transcendental mellows. He appeared in that mode, but simultaneously, he propagated the religious process for this age in a most fascinating way. Only the confidential devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand this transcendental secret. Murari Gupta asks, in the other Kali Yugas, the goal would be Vaikuntha and not Vrindavan? That I can't say. I have no information about that. Rabin says, what is the connection between the tasting, the sentiment of Radha, and the dharma of this age, chanting the holy name? Thus he initiated the dharma for this age of Kali. Is it that broadcasting is a result of the tasting? Of course, we're chanting Hare Krishna. We're getting something. We're experiencing something. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, he was experiencing the presence of Krishna. He was experiencing the love of Krishna felt by Srimati Radharani. So the two go together. He's chanting Hare Krishna and he's tasting. Although he says, Durdaiva Midrashmi Hajani Nanaraga, actually he has so much unlimited taste for chanting the holy name of the Lord. So, Abhinatan Namanam, he's chanting, but in that mood. It's not mechanical chanting or obligatory chanting. He's chanting just as at the Ratha Yatra. He's chanting, feeling a deep mood of love for Krishna, and especially love in separation from Krishna. So everything goes together. That broadcasting is that broadcasting is a result of the tasting? One can say that in one sense. In another sense, he simply had two missions that he wanted to achieve. Or from another point of view, one can say that from A comes B. But the primary meaning and primary purpose is there in love for Krishna. Okay, I'm getting a little spacey also. We can read another verse or two. Advaita Charja Nityananda Srinivas Gadadhar Damodar Murari Haridas Arjata Chaitanya Krishna Bhaktagan Arjata Chaitanya Krishna Bhaktagan Bhakti Pave Shire Dhari Shabhar Charan. Yeah, Advaita Charja Nityananda Srinivas Gadadhar Damodar Murari Haridas Arjata Chaitanya Krishna Bhaktagan Bhakti Bhave Shire Dhari Shabhar Charan. Advaita Charja, Lord Nityananda, Srivas Pandit, Gadadhar Pandit, Swarup Damodar, Murari Gupta, Haridas Thakur, and to all the other devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the other devotees of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, bowing down with devotion, I hold their lotus feet on my head. Purport: the author of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita teaches us that we must offer our respectful obeisances to all such pure confidential devotees of Lord Chaitanya, if we indeed want to know him in truth. All right, let us stop here. And who's leading Kirtan today?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hi, Om Vishnuvad, Gorman Supripad, Vicharya Stotra, Sri Shrimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Jayam Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shivasari, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokuvinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur. Thank you all very much. And we'll continue tomorrow with Bhagavatam and next week with Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakti Ki Jai.
Hi.
Kumaranande Hari Hari Bol. Special thanks to Panchatattva for the and the Kendra Prabhu for the very nice kirtans. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the beautiful, inspiring class, Gurudev.
Try to say something. Hare Krishna.